If you don't believe in different dimensions, then you might after this video. This is the mysterious story of the man from Torrid. Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you don't know who I am an Australian horror artist and I do conspiracy, scary facts and true crime videos, and then I draw something disturbing to go with the particular story that I'm talking about. Now, if that sounds like something that's right up your alley, make sure you like and subscribe and tick shit ding stuff. I don't know what there is now that you do whatever you do to get notifications of my videos every week so you don't miss them. If you don't want to miss my content, if I am that important to you, it'd be great if I was. I spend most of my time searching the internet for stories and stuff that has happened that I like to bring to you guys for either amusement or facts, or just for you to know what is floating around out there and what has happened and how disturbing the human race is and our history. It's been something that I have loved for a very, very long time. Enough of me waffling on, and let's get on with the story. The man from Torrid. A Caucasian man with a beard and very well dressed turned up at the Haneda airport in Tokyo in July 1954, possessing a passport from a country called Torrid. The only problem was that Torrid didn't exist. The man was taken for questioning after the airport officials were puzzled at the passport that didn't seem to be fabricated, but stated a country that was not from this world. The man was shown a map and was told to point to where Torrid was located, so he did, and the man started to get frustrated and confused as the country that was supposed to be Torrid was actually called Andorra. His passport had been stamped from places around the world as well, which made his passport seem even more legit. The passport was also worn, so it had been used a lot. The man was a businessman that travelled a lot and had already visited Japan 3 times that year. The man did speak Japanese and many other languages with a French accent. Torrid was supposed to be a country that sat between Spain and France. He had several European currencies on him and traveller's checks. Everything looked authentic, and he had so much documentation to back his story up. Because he had a non-existent country on his passport, they could not let him in to Tokyo. The man grew more frustrated and thought it was all a prank, because to this man, Torrid was real and had been around for 1,000 years. The company the man was there to visit did not know who he was, and the hotel where he made reservations at said they had no record of him, and the traveller's checks I mentioned before were from a bank that didn't exist. The man had all his documentation confiscated and was placed in a hotel room with 2 security guards guarding the door at all times. The man claimed that he had a headache and wanted to lay down, so he did so in that hotel room. They went to check on him hours later, but the man had disappeared. His room was completely empty, no trace at all that anyone was ever in the room. Even a neatly made bed where he supposedly lied down on was completely untouched. To make it even more weird, all the man's documentation was gone as well from the airport's security room that the officials had confiscated. Apparently, he couldn't have escaped out the windows or climbed out, as the building had no balconies or places to go up or down. A search was ordered to find the man, but no one ever found any trace of him. Now, here are some of the conspiracies that are floating around about this particular story. Some theories suggest that the man was from another dimension and had accidentally crossed over to our dimension, then ended back up on his own dimension eventually when the timelines moved again, hence the reason for everything of his completely disappearing, kind of like a Mandela effect. He could have been a government agent, and all the documentation he possessed was made by complete professionals, being an inside job type scenario. Everything was fabricated, example, the Torrid country, to hide exactly where he was from to protect his identity. His disappearance was a highly sophisticated escape plan by the intelligence organization that he worked for. Now, I'm going to let you mull over those information that I just gave you and let it soak in, because I am now about to burst your bubble, unfortunately. Now, apparently, the man from Torrid is explained and solved. In 1960, a story spread about a man named John Allen Kacha Zegras was arrested in Japan for trying to enter the country with a fake passport and documents. John claimed to be from Tamanrasset, that is located in sub-Sahara, called Torrid or Torrid. The passport was so good that it looked absolutely authentic, no signs of being fake, and it was written in a made-up language. Some of the text was completely nonsense. Now, I will have up on the screen some of the text that they had, that this guy had on his documentation, and apparently this is not even a language, it's just complete gibberish. He even said that the country had 2 million people and he was a naturalized Ethiopian citizen, and his passport showed he had entered quite a few countries before Japan, such as Africa and the Middle East. John was thrown in jail, serving 1 year for counterfeit documents. John even tried to commit suicide during this time. He was considered a man without an identity and was never allowed to leave Japan. What do you think about these particular stories? Was the first man from Torrid, was this first story modelled off this particular, of this man, John? Was it all just an urban legend, or is it possible that time travel exists, or there was an interdimensional crossover, even for this John guy who claims he was from this particular country that sort of it did really exist in his dimension, and maybe he got stuck and he couldn't go back? Let me know your thoughts. I would love to know if you've heard any more on this particular story. Is any of it plausible? Is it real? Like, does any of this actually exist? Because I'm very curious to know, because I am a little on the fence about both these stories. I would love them to be real because it'd be awesome. I don't know. Please reign on this subject. Please let me know what your thoughts are on this story. I found this quite interesting when I stumbled across this one, and I really went down a rabbit hole with it, and I sort of couldn't find any proper, like, concrete evidence. I want some more information on this. Like, this is very, very interesting. So the illustration that I did for this video today for the man from Torrid is basically of someone who is transitioning or has a sort of like a interdimensional self, but it's not like his self that's in one dimension. He's kind of like this cyborgy monster in another dimension, and it's sort of splitting down the center to sort of portray this particular dimensional shift, and they're sort of walking alongside, mimicking each other's movements, but they're, you know, totally different beings. And yeah, that's just what I wanted to portray with this, was the interdimensional thing, the interdimensional shift. And you've got the businessman on one side, you've got the cyborg monster on the other, and there is a connection that I wanted to portray with this by the the copper and gold and silver hoses going over into the businessman as well, just to let you know that they are the same, being just totally sort of different shells in a different dimension, basically. So that's what I did. I did struggle with this. This was a huge struggle for me, because I've never sort of done something like this before, with a dimensional sort of cut in half type illustration. I sort of really didn't know what to do, and I went in first with a liner and sort of defined like a bit of a sort of matrix type line, and then started doing some squares and stuff, but I just got lost, and I'm like, no, I do not like that at all. So I ended up moving on to putting like a white paint in there and making it like a cloudy transition, and then having some sort of cloudy sort of substance shooting out from both sides to portray the dimensional shift. This one, yeah, I like it, but I don't, because of the way that I execute it and the way that I sort of really didn't know how to portray a dimensional cut between two people. So yeah, I may work on that in the future, but I think I sort of get my point across in a way, I suppose. Yeah, the individual sides I like on their own, but the split down the center, not a fan. So, but anyway, that is it from me today. I hope you enjoyed this urban legend, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.